Try that. Oh, thank you, Donna. Okay, so I'm going to say that real quick. What I'm planning to talk about the Farthing Bell, how it came into being, try to show you how it works, show you how I use it for handling practice, and then talk about some other ways it might be helpful. If you have questions, shout them out real loud or interrupt me or so. Okay, so here's the story, and my brother Frank is on this call, so he knows how it came into being, and we'll see if our stories mesh and how close. So as I recall, my brother, as I think out of the blue, asked me if I had ever thought about building a dumbbell, and which I certainly had, but I didn't really know how to go about it. It was well beyond me. My brother, fortunately, is extremely handy, and this is right up his alley. So I knew he could do it. So I said, okay, I'm all in. We were talking a bit about it, and he said, well, it'd be better, wouldn't it, if the bell itself was on the ground floor? And I said, well, yeah, sure, that would be better. But in my head, I said, but that's impossible. And fortunately, I didn't say out loud, that's impossible. I just said, well, I don't know. I mean, it'd be great, but, give it a try. But I didn't think he could do it, but turned out he found a way to do it. So what we did, let's see. He started, so let me back up. I would say there's three ways that a rope can be, three things that cause a rope to move, a bell rope. One is the ringer, of course, and it's going to pull down. The bell itself, that's going to take the rope up. And then there's a third thing, of course, when there's times when the ringer can't pull, like after you finish the backstroke, the rope keeps going down. The ringer's not doing that, the bell's not doing it, it's just gravity on the rope. So if you put the bell on the ground floor, you're okay when the ringer's pulling on the rope. That'll be just fine. You're okay when the bell is taking the rope back up. That's okay. But there's those times in between when the rope is coming down only because of gravity. And if you've got the bell down on the ground floor, you're trying to send the rope up, and gravity's not so good at taking things up. So that's where you get in trouble. So I've seen bells that are ground floor bells, and they sort of kind of work, but not quite. And it's because of that third time that the rope needs to move, is that the rope needs to go up and then back down, and there's nothing that's going to cause that rope to go up. So you introduce slack at that moment, and then it the re-engages at some point. But that any slack in the rope and re-engagement is going to cause it difficult to control the bell, and that's what I've seen with bells that are on the ground floor, but don't have what this thing has, which I'll tell you about in just a second. Frank's first pass at this, he said, okay, so we need to get the rope to go down for the ringer when there's nothing, the bell and the ringer aren't doing that. So what he did was clever and sort of kind of worked. He had, let's see, I'll try to paint a picture as best I can. So he had the rope going up and over a spool and around a couple times, and then back down to the bell, and then come back up just like the tower bell. And in addition to that, he also had a rope going up and around the same way on that spool, and then with a weight. So anytime there was nothing, the ringer and the bell, neither of those were causing anything to happen, that weight would bring the rope back down this way. And that kind of worked. but it didn't feel quite right. And we made a couple improvements on that. One thing is we had a kind of a stretchy rope for the ringer. And what made even more difference, we had a stretchy rope for that weight. So we would, the weight would come down, and when it changed and started wrapping up on the other side of the wheel, it would be a sudden change. And if that rope was stretchy at all, it would bounce and cause unexpected things. And so that got in the way. So we had something that stuck on it, it's maybe we're onto something, but it didn't feel quite right. As I recall, I had a suggestion that never got implemented. I think it led to something else, but we'll see what Frank thinks of it. I said, here we go. So what we had is that the rope that the ringer pulled on went up and over and around the spool a couple times, and then back down to come down and then to act like it was coming up like an actual tower bell. And we'd have a pulley down here, just like in a tower. And I said, well, there's no reason the rope has to go all the way down and then back up. Why don't we just have it, it could go around there a couple times, come down to the wheel, have the pulley somewhere around here, so the rope can go back on each side of the wheel. And then we eliminate some of the components. But one thing we talked about, we wanted to make this as simple as we could without making it any simpler, and that kind of served us well. But that idea was never implemented, but a much better idea was, my brother had, and this might be hard to see, but so there's a line here and a line here. So, and this one's going over the bell and underneath, and this one's going down here. And so when I move the bell, I'm going to cause these. If I move the bell this way, I'm going to pull on this rope and on this line here. The other one's going to go up, and that's going to rotate the wheel up above that you can't see real well. Let me How about that? Maybe. So if I can't see, let's see. Maybe we split the difference. Yes, it might just work. We'll see. Okay, so if I turn the bell one way, that's going to cause the green line to come here. The other green line is going to go up, and it's going to rotate the wheel up at the top. Maybe you can see. And that rotation is also causing the rope to go up. So now I've got, I don't have to push a rope up. I've got linkages here. That anytime I move the bell, it's going to cause the upper wheel to move, which is going to impact the rope. So now I don't have a rope that's going up. I've got linkages here. This rope is only going up to the spool here. So gravity is fine for this. It's going to bring it down. And now I've got what I need. So any motion of the bell is going to get transferred. We call this a rotation transfer system. I think it was apt. Because anytime the lower wheel turns, it's going to directly link to the upper wheel. It's going to turn that guy, and that's going to make the rope do what I want it to do. All right, Isabella, you're on. So, okay, so I'm going to kind of get a feel for how I would teach somebody. The thing that I can do with this is, as opposed to an actual tower bell, which I can't slow down, I can't stop. This I can just make it go as slow as I want. I can stop it if it starts to get anywhere, the bell starts to come down. There's never really an issue for the bell becoming dangerous. And so there's no issue for the ringer, the learner, to become scared. So they can just focus on what's going on instead of survival mode. All right. So the first thing I would do, I certainly could do, I could do this, but why would I want to do this? I could do the usual way. Okay, Isabella, I'm going to pull the Sally, and you pull that. So here we are doing the usual thing. But that doesn't take advantage of what you want to do. So I can do all of that from here, and better yet, I can slow it down. So, and I can, all the pieces are here, right? So in the tower, what's above the ceiling is a big mystery, and it stays a mystery for too long, right? So, but here we've got, you can't see it on the screen, but Isabella can see it just fine. The rope goes up and then goes over a pulley and then goes up underneath that spool. And here, I'll pretend you've never done this, okay? And okay, so now if I were to pull this down, or I'll do the same thing from the wheel, it goes down and Isabella, see how it's unwrapping from the wheel up there? So it's going to come down and it's going to unwrap and then it's going to start wrapping the other side, right? You got that? And that's why the rope is doing what it's doing. Okay, and then at this point, you're going to get stretched out and we want the bell to go close to the balance and you feel tension there and keep tension. As Michael, I said tension again, right? and now just bring it back down. And there it is. Okay, and that's, and so I can do that again and we get a feel for how far it's going to go, what you should be feeling, when you should feel tension there, and then we can get up to speed almost immediately. So that, and then here's another beautiful thing. The hand stroke is even better. Yeah, this is really good, I think. So so I don't have to hang on to the tail because I can keep control of the bell right here. So it's never going to be an issue of danger. Wouldn't dare do that in the tower. But I can again have Isabella grab up high on the tail and understand that you're going to pull and watch. You can actually see it right here. You're going to see the rope unwrap from the wheel, and that's when it's going to go, and it's going to come down. And right about now, it's going to turn around, and you better get your hands off right about there. And now we can know how far the rope's going to go. We don't have to guess. We don't have to do what almost always happens: is somebody holds on too long, gets a rope burn, and then the next time they pull way too short. And both of those are wrong, and both of those are going to be mistakes that we're going to have to fix up. I was going to say one thing. Listen, so this thing, I really believe this is not too long in the future. People will say, "Do you believe that we used to try to give first lessons on an actual bell? What were those guys thinking? That's nuts." So many people got hurt. If I tell you, if one person got scared away by that, that's too many. And a whole lot more than one person has been scared away by a first pull that was traumatic. The other thing, there's this Association of Ringing Teachers. They, among other things, they put out a video of first lesson, or the first stages of learning, so they've got a really top-notch instructor, right? And she's doing everything right, and it's all good. And they come to the first time you pull a hand stroke, and the learner is terrified, with good reason, because it's terrifying. And so imagine everything was right, and still this was a scary thing to go through. And it doesn't have to be that way. So go ahead and do the hand stroke again. And so we do that, and we'll have you catch this out. So again, we can do this slowly, and we make sure that we stay safe there. And I can talk through what's going to happen next. The rope went up, and you know why. And it's going to come down, and you wait. You don't grab right away. And then when it comes back up, there's a chance. And then we can go a little faster. And we can kind of ease into what's really going to happen. And then at some point, I can just pretty much get out of the way. Okay, I send it back like that. And without any danger. And I can stop it whenever I want. If the bell gets a little bit over the balance, I say, "Oh my God, I'll take the rope." And there's never any panic situation at all. And then I'll do one more thing with the both strokes. Again, you know how to do that, but I'm going to go real slow. Okay. So Isabella, you know what's going to happen now. You got to do both sides of that, and go ahead. And I'm going to go make it real slow. And there it goes. And remember to get your hands apart or off the Sally and together immediately if you can. And you know this part is going to. But we can go this slow and this relaxed, this calm, and then bring it back down. Remember the Sally's going to go way down and touch it back up, and then do a little faster. There you go. And now you feel what you're supposed to feel. And then of course, okay, go ahead and then I'll get probably out of the way. You know? Say, look at that, you're doing it. And, you know. Okay. Right. Any questions on that? All right, let's see.
Tom, I have a question.
Please. Yep.
I assume you've done this with beginners and then gone onto a rope. Is that
That
step
today.
onto a rope?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is that step onto the rope after this gigantic? Or do you find it really
I would
makes a
argue
difference?
strongly it is not.
Okay.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep, I did that today. Had some people show up for the first time today. It's fun.
Interesting
Yeah.
thing.
Other, sorry, is that what you wanted to hear, Don? Or
I would also just briefly chip in that the bell itself, I assume it is still portable as previous versions of it was, or is it mostly fixed?
yeah, it's I would say semi-portable. It's not the easiest thing to move around, as you know, but definitely possible to move around. Yeah.
I will chip in from experience that when you're trying to recruit new ringers and you can't recruit new ringers in the tower itself, it can be quite the draw.
That's right. Well, yeah, and in our tower, which I think is probably similar to a lot of places, it's not an easy place to find the tower, and it takes some doing to get into it. Whereas, yeah, like you know, we've taken this thing to the activities fair and set it up outside, and it's hard to not notice. Right. Yeah. Right. Other thoughts, questions? Let's see, I was going to say about other ways to use it. Certainly can be used for an individual to practice on their own. I have an example. My daughter was ringing, and she had the common thing where she'd hold on to the tail end with a couple extra fingers when she'd grab on the Sally. And that's kind of a, you know, okay, you tell somebody it's okay, you don't have to do that, but it's a leap of faith to actually not hold on like that. But then she just took a few minutes on her own, worked with this, knew that nothing really bad could happen, and just in a few minutes she had that licked. So that, you know, that type of thing can happen.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there a good way to make the bell sound while it's in use?
There is. Yeah, that's it. So there's a I don't have it set up right now, but it's certainly possible, and I've had it set up many times with. Oh, Bill, hey, good. There's you can have a sensor on the bell. Where is it? But anyway, you have a sensor on the bell. Here it is. Which this won't tell you anything, but this is an example of something you could do. But it's this will plug into the computer, and there's some software that will understand that. And then, so this will be fixed on the frame, right? And as the bell rotates, if you put say a magnet for this one, if you put a magnet on the wheel or on the bell, as it rotates, it'll go by the sensor and send a signal to the computer, and the computer will make a sound. So that definitely happens a lot. So that's another thing. You can practice methods with it if you have a sensor on there. I join a weekly online practice with my dumbbell with some folks in England. We are, as I say, I'm a founding member of the Dumbbell Society, and right. No, okay. Thank you very much. Sorry, you ruined it, right? So that's another thing you can do. Oh gosh, yeah, we talked about the demonstration. So if you're trying to recruit some people, this will draw attention to what you're doing, and you've seen this certainly like at an activities fair where there's several hundred people trying to draw attention to their organization, and these poor overwhelmed freshman students don't know what to do with it, and they walk by and try their best to avoid eye contact with anybody. However, they come by this and say, well, what the heck is that thing? And so there you go. Now you can tell them what it is, and you got a conversation going anyway. So that helps a lot. So, and then one other thing that I want to mention, I believe this would work very well with actual bells. If you imagine you had a set of bells on the ground floor, having a similar, something more substantial than these green lines, but something very similar, running on each side of the bell, running up to a spool, and then a rope on the other end. And you'd have to have a wall in the way and things like that. All things that I believe could be managed easily enough. Then you have the opportunity for a ring of bells that doesn't have to have a very expensive tower built for them. Just get the bells secured to the floor, and then you'd have to have something secure enough to hold the spool up at the top, but there's minimal force on that compared to the force of the bell swinging back and forth. Right. I think that's kind of what I wanted to say. Certainly open to questions at this point. I have one question if nobody asks, but anybody have any questions?
Well, I'm just late, so
Yeah.
at the risk of asking you to repeat everything you just.
I'm having trouble hearing what you're saying, John. I'm sorry. It could be my end, but
You just,
try it again or put it in chat.
Oh, it's David.
Oh, I'm sorry, David. Oh, I beg your pardon.
Well, anyway, on my screen. I don't know. Maybe this helps. No. Does that help? I don't know.
So far, so good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I think I can hear that pretty well. So, but I didn't hear the question originally.
Okay, so
And once again, I'm having trouble.
I have joined. So kind of up. If you want to repeat everything you just said, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll just sort of tag along with
David,
with your
he has
demonstration.
recorded the demonstration.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. We'll get the recording on the Guild YouTube channel. So you'll have a chance to hear everything I've said. Any other questions?
Okay, great.
So Tom, how tall is it? How much space do you need?
Yes, thank you for asking. So I'm going to say this is probably about 11.5 feet. I will also say that I have a similar setup in my basement, which goes to, I think it's probably 8.5 feet. And what I do with that, so it has to be high enough for somebody to reach out. So you either want really, if you recruit really short ringers, you'll be all set. Otherwise, you'll have to have something that goes at least this high, plus, another, I don't know, what's that, 3 feet or so? It's the one in my basement, the stanchion here, where I learned from Bill, thank you, Bill. The stanchion, you can make this shorter, and what I do is I sit down when I ring in my basement. And that surprisingly works just fine. I find I'm quite comfortable with that. Yeah. I can do it on one knee. So that's one way to get it shorter. I don't have a good thought on, so up from this point up, I think it's kind of a fixed distance. And we could probably shorten it a little bit, but your question was how high is this? I think it's 11.5. Other questions?
Tom, I have a question.
Please,
This is
yeah.
Miriam.
Yeah.
How much does it weigh and how do you take it apart to transport it?
Excellent. Yeah. So, gosh, how much does it weigh? A whole lot. Well, no, not a whole lot. I'll tell you what. I mean, yeah, sure. So the wheel. No, I'm not going to do it right now. Okay, so the wheel is on an axle, and I can unhook that, so I can just pull the wheel out. And the wheel is probably the heaviest part of it. I'm going to guess that's good 40 pounds. I don't know. Something like that. And then the frame. So there's the four sides of the frame. Oh, well, I should say the stanchion will come off and come apart, and this will come off if you want to. It depends on, if I were just running it down for the activities fair, I wouldn't, I minimize how much I take it apart. If I had to fit it all in my car, I'd take it apart more. So the stanchion comes off. So that, a single person. Oh, a single person. I can do this on my own. So that's another part. The four sides of the frame come apart, and I think that's pretty much it. And it will fit in my car. It actually, so I measured in the back of my car. I can fit something 42 inches wide in my car. This wheel is 42 inches. Coincidence? Not really. I would like to have a bigger wheel, 4 feet diameter or bigger would be even better, I think. I noticed the first version of this we had, the wheel was 3 feet wide diameter, and that was just like a small tower bell where the rope comes down and moves up real quick, and it's a little bit hard to control this because the rope travel is so small. That was the same thing with the 3 foot wheel. The turnaround was a little quick and made the bell a little harder to handle, or the other way to say it is the 3.5 foot wheel, I think handles a lot better. I'm sure a 4 foot wheel would handle even better. So I think the weight, I don't think makes all that much difference, is what I think I found, but the size of the wheel definitely makes a whole bunch of difference. Yeah, please.
Just for reference, what kind of car is it?
Yes, I have a Subaru Forester. I used to have a pickup. What's that?
And it all fits in there fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. It's
Okay, good.
I've learned how to put it in there,
I
but
just want-
it works. It fits just fine. Yeah. You've driven it with it. Yep.
Yes, I just wanted everybody else to know
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
I was playing for you there,
Appreciate that.
which
Hold
I
on.
do.
Tom,
Yes.
this is Quilla. I
Yeah.
suppose I could actually appear. A question. If somebody wanted to build their own, do you have it buy from you as opposed to having you build it for them?
Right. We don't have any plans, but we have plans to make plans. And we've also encouraged, we're certainly available to talk people through the process. We did that. Bill Cummings has built. Bill, you built a couple of them, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So and that was, yeah.
I was just gonna say, I guess you'd call them engineering drawings of them, that you could pay Tom a royalty fee.
Right.
I'd be happy to share
because
those.
that, in some ways, that would be an efficient way for people who
Yeah.
I
wanted
agree.
them to
Absolutely.
be able to do it. The other thing would be to find out, what am I thinking? Well, also there might be somebody clever in the guild who is an entrepreneurial in the vast marketplace of bell ringers.
Yeah,
Person
well, you never
to-
know. Yeah, that's right.
I know, you never know, to sort of say, okay, here's what we need to do to semi-mass produce it and make it, so that it is this smooth kind of thing. And it just needs the person who can say, okay, this is what we have. Here are the 5 things that'll make it ultra, Granted, we never find these people, but there might be somebody who could do that sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Well, that's echoing a
But
conversation.
making plans available. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's echoing a conversation I had with my brother just a few minutes ago, I think. But yeah, you're right, absolutely.
But before that, letting people know that there are some plans if they want to, that they could look at and decide if they want to build it, and if they do, provide some royalty to the, whether it goes to you or University of Chicago or whatever. Would be a possibility, because I think there certainly are people who are interested in it, whether it realistically fits where they are when they realize, it's 11 by 11 kind of, but this would give them a chance to figure it out.
Great question.
So Tom, do you have a way to adjust it so that the effective weight of the bell, how heavy a bell it feels like you're ringing?
Right. Yes, sure. I mean, well, this is something I've wondered about. So I've got the wrong side of the bell. I have an extra weight on the other side of the bell, of course. So you can add weight. One thing I have found. Well, let's see. We've experimented with a very, very heavy weight. And with, and you'd think, okay, well, the heavier the better. And I'm not convinced that's right. And it's hard, you've got, where do you pinpoint the weight? How do you distribute it? The bell itself is fairly well distributed. How do you get that right? But the key thing, I use it for training. And with I've experimented with a very heavy weight on there, and I didn't have the control that anymore. The bell was kind of doing its own thing to some extent. So I like the lighter. I don't think a weight is necessary. I don't really think you get a more realistic feel by putting more weight necessarily on it. I don't think that really corresponds as one might think. And like I say, for training, I can get the feel, the timing. I can educate people on that, and it doesn't have to have a lot of weight. I don't know if I answered your question, Charlie.
Well, I'm wondering if there was like a way that you could, if there was a weight on it, if you could adjust how far it was out on the wheels so that you could maybe control the rotational inertia somewhat.
Right. Yeah. I mean, clearly possible. I haven't. I have found something that I'm quite happy with, and I kind of stick with that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Other questions? Nobody's asking the question. I have, so good.
I have a brief question.
Okay.
I'm just very curious, having seen the earlier iteration of it. a while ago. I'm very curious how it's changed over the years, just from a
Yeah,
perspective of
right.
curiosity.
Okay, so the history, so first conversation with my brother was 2008. And I think in 2010, we were quite happy with the design. I think the essence of the design has not changed from that point. The components have changed, but the real inspiration with the lines on each side that stayed true for the whole time. Does that answer your question, Mike?
Yes, I was curious.
Yeah.
Michael, I'll just add too that this is probably like a 6.0
Yeah.
version of what we started with. A lot of trial and error and failure, just like with any other mechanical device, improving a little bit here and there, and changing of materials and whatnot. But if you saw the original one that was in my garage, I don't think you'd really recognize the two. I can't remember exactly what
Yeah,
that looked like.
I think Michael saw that one. Yeah, that's probably what he's.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, because I saw the first one you brought to campus in like 2011 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was truly the first one. It felt like the first one soon after we roped you into
that was the first
tower map.
The first one that we were really happy with. You know, that was to say, okay, this feels like what it's supposed to feel like. Frank mentioned improvements. I think of one of that just made it easier to set up. The base of the stanchion gets secured, and then you just lift it up, and that was a lot easier than the original support. But again, like the essence of.
And I would say too that.
Yeah. Frank, I lost you.
Oh, I was just going to say, are you still there, Tom?
I can hear you.
Okay. Tom being in Chicago, sometimes I'd have to wait for a week or two or a month for him to come to Kalamazoo to see, because I didn't know. I just would make changes that I thought seemed correct, but I didn't know if they would translate to the real ringing side of it. So that's all I just wanted to make clear, is that I did it from ringing viewpoint.
Yeah, I think I should have mentioned that earlier, but that's a key point. I think that Frank is not a ringer, and that was, you know, that means he didn't know that he was trying to do something impossible, and thank goodness for that. So
good way to put it. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. All right, I'll ask my question, or I'll any other questions?
Is this a contest or not? To answer the question?
No. So the question is, why is it called a farthing bell? I mean, there's an obvious.
I know that.
Well, there's a couple answers to that. What do you say, Frank?
My last name is Farthing. That's why.
And
yours too, I think.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. That's
makes sense.
And it's nice. I mean, this truly was a collaboration. You know, we were just saying that, and we said before that, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do this on my own, and Frank wouldn't have been able to do this on his own. But together, we had a blast. Thinking hard. It was. I remember one time when we were, you know, not to the, you know, the pre-2010 version, and trying to figure out why it wouldn't feel right, and just puzzling over it, and just the puzzling over it was really fun. It's frustrating because we didn't have it yet, but you know, it's fun to work together like that. So it's for us, and it's for both of us. So the other thing is, you may have noticed, you know, there's like the bell wheel is bigger compared to the upper spool, somewhat like perhaps a penny farthing. bicycle. So we've got a the farthing up top and the bell down. So it's a farthing bell, right? There you go.
Tom,
Yeah.
you might want to give a better look at the bell wheel itself.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
okay, sure. So get out of the way. So
and the framework.
Yeah.
Pretty good look at the
Yeah.
side of it, but
Okay, right. So there you go.
yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Tom,
Yeah.
how long does it take you to set it up?
Yeah.
From taking it out of your car to,
Yeah, I think half an hour-ish. That's about right. Yeah.
okay.
As long as I don't, I too many times, the frame is apart. So I fixed this. I don't do this anymore, but I had it all taken apart. I put it together and realized I had this side, or the sides the wrong way around. So, okay, take it apart, put it back together. That's happened too many times. I think so that'll be, a longer time if I have to redo stuff. But,
Okay. I've got another question for you.
Yep.
I know you've built several of them at this point, but if just for instance, I wanted you to build me one of these, and you could start on it tomorrow, how long would it take you to build it?
oh boy, that's a good question for Bill. Bill, you want to take a shot at that? All right. Yeah, how long?
A month or 6 months?
Yeah,
Roughly?
a month sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
About a month?
Well,
Okay.
more than a week, but a month would probably be good.
Okay. And are all the components readily available?
Well, yeah, not all of them. So, it's mostly wood. So that's easy enough at the hardware store. The stanchion, I've got ideas to make that out of wood. Frank wants to get away from wood as much as we can, but that's the current thought. Look at this, kind of the tricky bit. I have a bearing here that the belt turns on. Those I ordered. You can get them online, but I don't think those are available at the local hardware store.
How difficult is it to get the rope with the Sally already?
Yeah, that's right. So I have several of these, but I have. I think this was from Kalamazoo. I've got a bunch of old ropes from wherever I can grab some old ropes. Bill's.
Are they available new?
What's that?
Are they available new?
Yeah, they're available new, but they're quite expensive. So I wouldn't. I wouldn't tend to do that.
What's quite expensive?
Yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot
Probably,
of experts
I'll
on this.
say 250 or 300 pounds, $1 per rope.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. And of course, that's going to have a lot more rope. I mean, you're going to need the Sally, of course, but this doesn't need much beyond, above the Sally,
Right.
whereas a tower belt would have quite a bit above the Sally.
And used ropes would be fine because you're not going to get that much. You're not having the weight issue.
That's
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And if they break, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean-
I don't know if you can see, but this is spliced together and.
Yeah, and you can have other rope spliced into it up above and stuff. Yeah. very simple.
To put out an appeal to towers to save their dead ropes when they take ropes.
Yeah, you're right.
Have a good supply.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's right. This is the place to use them, I think.
What type of tools would you need to build something like that?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's, yes. For the wheel, to make a really nice round wheel, you do it a couple ways. If you've got access to a bandsaw, that's ideal. A circle. Can also be done with a jigsaw, but bandsaw is the way to go if you can. What else? And you need a drill for all these holes. And well, you need to have a saw to cut the boards.
When I've made mine, I've put the shaft through the center of the lower wheel, and then in our case used a router, but you could use a bandsaw. Anyway, you can get a nice round wheel that way. You just spin it in front of the cutting device, whatever it is.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Bill, hey, say hi to my brother Frank.
Hi, Frank. Yes, I've sort of figured out who you are now.
I've got a quick question for you, Bill. I should know the answer to this too. You know how you've got to get the pull wheel, we call it the pull wheel, the raised wheel, very, very square on its axis, so that it wobble.
Right.
I've had some success doing that, but I don't know why I had success doing it. It was kind of a trial and error, and all of a sudden I hit it, and I've had trouble duplicating it. Do you remember what your process was there?
I think, yeah, I think so. I think this is the right answer. I've used bearings up above and a shaft, and
Right.
I think I used a 1/2-inch shaft and 1/2-inch bearings, so it's pretty nice tight fit, and then they're mounted solidly, and so the whole thing turns very true.
Okay. My trouble was getting the wobble out of it. And I remember when I finally got that, I think I was clamping it up and then screwing it together, and then I would see if it had wobble in it, and finally I hit it at a point where it was very true. And not that I really building any more of them, but I was just thinking about that yesterday. I remember when I finally nailed it, and it was extremely true, which you want. You don't want a lot of,
no,
because it fits fairly to the what we call the gantry.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so that's sort of the wobble or the run out of the wheel, the upper wheel, so the pull wheel itself.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that has a lot to do with what materials you start with.
Materials, your tools probably too, and whatnot. But
yeah, that's right. I actually
okay.
laid one up out of fiberglass because I have a pivoting arm so that I can wheel it outside my garage and put it up on the driveway. And
nice.
So I don't want that to be heavy. So
Right.
I made it out of fiberglass. It's got a little wobble to it, but it's not too bad.
Right. Have you taken videos of that? I'd like to see that.
Yeah, sure. I'll send you some.
If you send it to Tom, he can get it to me.
Yeah, exactly. I'll do that.
Great. And we're encouraged that you're going ahead with it. So
it's been great. I can't wait. I can't wait for some warmer weather so I can practice and join Tom when he rings with the folks overseas. Plus, I know Laura's waiting to join us from out in California.
Right. Do you see it like I do, where maybe 6 to 8 people around the country would have one of these, and they can all, from wherever they are, can all participate? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. That's the way I had it pictured in my head originally, and I don't, there isn't actually enough Farthing Bells in existence to pull that off quite right. But I think it sounds like, thanks to you, it sounds like that may happen at some point. So,
well, I'm up to serial number 2 so far.
Oh, yeah?
It's a limited set.
All right. Well, I think we're at 6, but they're not. I think some of them have been parted out and whatnot.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, you could do that, and it's really helpful so I'm 3 hours from Chicago, which is the nearest tower, and I'm 4 or 5 from Kalamazoo there, and Laura's, I think, 7 or 8 from Seattle is her nearest tower. So for those of us who are far from a real tower, it gives us a way to ring this style with rope handling without having to travel.
exactly. Yeah, I'd be excited to see your version of it.
Yeah, you bet.
So, okay. Fiberglass, I like that. Is
Super light.
Is your pull wheel fiberglass, or what's fiberglass?
The upper, the pull wheel.
The pull wheel.
The lower one is heavy.
It is, okay. Yeah, you almost need some weight there, don't you? So
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
As
So-
Tom said, not too much.
So what would you estimate yours weighs, Bill?
Well, I know the upper wheel weighs 3 pounds and 12 ounces, including its shaft.
Yeah.
I borrowed my wife's kitchen scale to find that out. The lower wheel, I deliberately made a little bit heavier.
Mhm.
To Tom's point, when you're training, it's really good to have it light. I personally chose to put a little bit of weight on it just because it felt a little bit better to me as
It feels more
a-
real.
a little bit. It's still very
Yeah.
light compared to an
Yeah.
actual bell, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit
Yeah.
closer. I felt anyway. That was just personal preference.
Right.
And I wrote a note to Charlie. I went over to a local mechanic and got a brake rotor that he was throwing away and put it on there, and that worked great.
Yeah, that'd be about the right weight, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and about what weight is that?
I would say my lower wheel, the whole thing, so the wheel and the brake rotor,
Right.
oh, it's on the order of maybe 75 pounds,
Okay.
something like that.
I'm afraid we should probably close it up here pretty quick. Anything else?
Thank you a lot,
Yeah.
Tom.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Tom.
Enjoy
Everybody.
the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's really
All
cool,
right.
Tom.
Good.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.